Hello, my name is Andre Ward. I'm the Associate Vice President of the David Rothenberg Center for Public Policy at the Fortune Society. Welcome to Both Sides of the Bars, a discussion-driven show that examines the legal system from various perspectives, including people most impacted by the criminal legal system. We discuss critical questions about how the current system works, its intersections with social justice, and highlight the efforts that are being made to improve the lives of everyone that is affected by it. We ask you, the viewers, to spread the word about both sides of the bars and share your comments with us on Twitter at the Fortune S-O-C. Today's show is titled Honoring and Serving Veterans 364 Days per Year. Currently, there are 18.2 million veterans in the United States. Gulf War era veterans now account for the largest share of all U.S. veterans, surpassing Vietnam era veterans in 2016. As with population trends overall, the veteran population is predicted to become more racially and ethnically diverse. Between 2016 and 2045, the share of white veterans is expected to drop from 77% to 64%. The share of veterans who are Hispanic is expected to nearly double, as is the share of female veterans, while the share of veterans who are Black is expected to increase from 12% to 16%. November is the month where we dedicate a day specifically to honoring and appreciating the bravery and service of our veterans. But as we continually learn more about the collateral consequences of military experience, I am pressed to ask, are we meeting the needs of our current veteran populations? Could we be doing more? I'm honored to have two extremely knowledgeable experts in this subject matter joining me today, Howard Harris and Deirdre Rice-Reese. Thank you for joining us. How are you feeling today?
I'm well, thank you. Thank
Great.
you for having me.
I just want to, I'm really honored to have you all on this show. When you all agreed to be here, I said it's great that we would be able to speak to some of our veterans to talk about these really important issues. Just to give our listening audience some overview and background of our guests here, Deirdre Rice-Reese is an Assistant Vice President of Residential Treatment for Samaritan Daytop Village, where she oversees the veteran and upstate residential treatment programs in Ulster and Dutchess County, and ensures appropriate and quality admissions referrals. Ms. Reese also coordinates outreach to community partners and other referral providers, and provides customer relations and related services to our referral base. And she has nearly 25 experience in social service and management of substance use treatment programs and facilities. And then we have Mr. Howard Harris. And so Howard, he is my colleague and someone who we greatly admire and respect at the Fortune Society. And Howard serves currently as a recovery coach specialist, and he's been doing that for over 3 years or so. Currently, I know that Howard is enrolled working on getting his CASE Act as it's consistent with his current work as recovery coach specialist. And you've been in the military. You served as in the Marine Corps for 3 years, and obviously Ms. Reese served in the Air Force for 6 years. So each of you have a tremendous amount of experience, and we're grateful for your service in the military. I didn't mention that, Ms. Reese, obviously, before a career in social services, you served in the military for 6 years or so. You're a credentialed alcoholism and substance abuse counselor, and you hold a master's degree in public administration as well from Baruch College, and a Bachelor of Professional Studies from Audrey Cohen College. And so you currently serve as the chair of the Cultural Competency Committee for the New York State Association of Substance Abuse Providers. Ms. Reese is married with 1 son and 2 grandchildren, and Mr. Harris is a father, a grandfather, and a great-grandfather. So I want to kind of jump right into this. I think that, when we talk about this idea of our veterans and the access to benefits that they have and the substance use histories that they have, and how all that kind of ties together, I kind of want to talk to us about, listen to us a little about, I know that there are different treatment courts Deirdre, that are in the States. Talk to us about the treatment courts that exist in the States to service our folk who may have substance use who are veterans, and what is that like for them?
Right. So in 2010, maybe a little earlier, Rob Russell out in Buffalo created a Veterans Treatment Court. It took off. It spun off 460 around the country. In New York, we have about 60. There's one in almost every county. More locally, of course, there is definitely Queens, Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and Mid-Hudson, which is my area of responsibility for Samaritan Daytop. Veteran treatment courts were developed to help mentor veterans through a process of criminal justice confines, if you would. If they had to navigate a court case for substance abuse treatment and or mental health disorder, they would have someone who was familiar, who had the military culture and experience to help them navigate the system. The Bureau of Justice Assistance saw that this worked. There's also the Center for Court of Innovation, and so they implemented or re-implemented these veteran treatment courts around the country. One of the things that I've seen is that the veteran treatment courts, though they are helpful, there are few judges that are as prepared to manage the full court. So they may have a track, or there may be a judge that has several different specialty courts under their responsibility. Family treatment court, drug court, mental health court. They all fall under the same individual who might not have a sense of how important the Veterans Treatment Court can be or would be for veterans that are incarcerated.
And Howard, I know that you have been involved in a lot of advocacy work, and your focus is on lifting up some of the issues and policies that impact veterans. And so we know that in April or so, sometime, there was a bill that was passed. That bill was A4 678, the Justice for Our Veterans Act, that was passed. And there's really unique language inside of the bill in and of itself. So on the one hand, I know they're saying about the offering of services and support for veterans, etc. But then there's a clause, except for. Talk to us about that. Talk to us about the bill a little bit, and then this except for.
Okay, Andre. First, I want to salute all the veterans this coming Veterans Day. I'll salute you all and thank you for your service. As Deidre said, Robert Russell, back in 2010 or so, he started these treatment courts. These treatment courts were started because veterans were coming back home and they were suffering. They were suffering. Some of them were reintegrating back into society without issue, but a lot of them would suffer mental illness, substance abuse issues that they brought back home as a result of their service. The bill as it stands right now, Andre, it has exclusionary points in it, all right? By that I mean, as you said, except for. One part of the bill states that service persons with domestic violence are excluded from alternative to incarceration, all right? Meaning they're eligible for mental health, but they will have to receive that mental health within the confines of imprisonment if they're sentenced as such. I don't believe that is the direction that this bill should go. This bill should be inclusive and serve the purpose of being an alternative, all right, whether it's treatment or whether it's mental health or whether it's assisting them in reintegrating back into community with housing, employment, whatever. But it shouldn't exclude any veteran, regardless of the charge or regardless of the discharge status. That's what Honorable Robert Russell had in mind when he started the treatment courts.
And Deirdre, for you, you've been in the field for 20 years or so, doing this work. I'm sure you've come across many people who have served in our military. Talk about what our listeners about what you've learned, like from some of the veterans coming home. I know Howard mentioned about folk are returning back from their service, right, or at the theater of war, they return home, and then they have post-traumatic stress disorder. They have different diagnoses. Talk to us about what you've learned, like over 25 years of like engaging the veteran population, particularly those who have had substance use histories.
So you've seen an evolution of the type of veterans when they come home, who they are, who's serving, who's not, who's survived it. And of course, I encounter primarily those individuals who have substance use disorders and or mental health disorders. We see a lot of PTSD, a lot of military sexual trauma. In Samaritan Daytop, we have 3 programs for veterans. We serve about 125 at any given time. 25 of them are women, so we have one of the only women's veterans programs. And what I've seen is that we see more affected women, and as you mentioned earlier, the increase in the women population of veterans will continue. And among men, I've seen the PTSD and acknowledgement of MST, where in the past you wouldn't hear men talking about MST, which is military sexual trauma, and having to address that. We've also seen that we had to create a culture of how to speak with veterans when you ask them if they were involved in the military. Not all veterans wanted to say they were a veteran. Mm-hmm. So years ago we would ask, are you a veteran? Versus, have you ever served in the military? So just that little nuance change allowed a more fluid conversation. I've also seen, just as I said, the demographic change. So right now in New York, more than half of the veterans that live in New York are over 65. So, which is, an anomaly. Mm-hmm. There's only about 10% of the OEF, OIF, or those individuals that served after 9/11 that are staying in New York and then coming into treatment services, which, is a smaller number. Some of the data suggests that we have to do better at engaging them. And I think many agencies have tried. New York State Department of Veteran Services, or new name, they used to be the Division of Veteran Affairs. Mm-hmm. New York City has a Veteran Services Division. And we all are kind of grappling with how to address the character of service discharge issue, how to address some of the subtleties of military culture, like, as you said, domestic violence, that could be as a symptom of the PTSD, or it could have been something related to a history prior to their military service. So there's so much. I mean, I could tell you, you talk about 25 years, so sure. Yeah, you've seen a change in the demographic overall, and you've seen a change in how individuals approach treatment or ask for help. Veterans may say, I got this, I don't need this. Mm-hmm. I'm a survivor, I'm strong, so I won't ask for help. We get more people asking for help or using community-based services. So that I think that's the biggest takeaway.
And I want to circle back to the historical piece in a little bit and try to juxtapose that between now and then. But Howard, you were talking about the bill, and obviously you feel that there can be some more changes to the bill, right? That can obviously really support and lift up our veterans in a way that's humane, that offers them the treatment that they deserve. So I know there's an amendment that's trying to be pushed or something. Talk to us about the amendment.
The amendment is A 4678, all right, and it's Veterans Justice Act. And what we're addressing in there are the things that I spoke about in terms of, no exclusion based on charges, all right? If they're a veteran, they should be considered, all right? And what's the meaning of what a veteran is. A veteran shouldn't be someone who, a veteran should be because of their discharge, whether it's other than honorable, they should still be entitled to participate in these alternative sentences and also in the treatment courts. We want these clauses to be removed, and we want anyone who has served to be able to be included, all right, in meeting their needs. You know, I've had opportunity to visit some of the veteran shelters, and what I see is just, it's terrible. You know, you have veterans going in and out of Rikers Island, in and out of central bookings, all right, and they're suffering in the throes of post-traumatic stress disorders, depression, alcoholism, drug use, and they're just going in and out. And it's a drain on the fiscal, you know, money that could be used in other places to treat them rather than have them be coming through this revolving door. So I believe a lot of these veterans don't meet the term a veteran means because they have an undesirable or they have, you know, whatever, other than dishonorable, other than honorable, okay? And they shouldn't be excluded, all right? That money could be better used rather than them coming in and out of that revolving door based on them not having their needs met.
And Deirdre, when Howard references, veterans inside of the shelters, etc., I want to talk a little bit about our women who have service, who have very specific and unique needs. Talk to us a little bit about that, right? Our women veterans and their specific and unique needs, and what are you observing in the field in terms of the services that they need for their specific needs?
So what was interesting is that 5 years ago, the VA developed this women's health arm of the Veterans Administration, but they didn't have gynecology. They didn't have maternity. So I'm like, how could you have women's health without gynecology? So the VA, in its wisdom, moved it to community-based services. Do we have enough community-based services to serve PTSD, MST, family issues, depression, alcoholism, drug abuse for women specifically? In New York, I would say we do, because the services that are available are underutilized. The services are there. Accessing the women, and I think that again, how you approach a women veteran or any veteran, how you ask the question about their service. I actually had a young woman say, well, I never thought of myself as a veteran. I was in the Guard, or I was in the Reserve, or I went to the military for 2 years. Okay, you served, you're a veteran, you're eligible. And many of the external service providers, external being outside of the VA, are service that would allow any character of discharge to be served. So Vet Resource Centers, Samaritan Daytop Village, many of the other veterans organizations around the city do not require that you have a honorable or other than honorable. You can have a bad, we're going to help you into recovery regardless of how your character of discharge. And many of us will offer supports to either get your discharge upgraded, because there is an ability to do that. You can upgrade to, change the character of service. You could do community service to be reinstated. You could participate in some forums that allow for changes to bills, laws, and regulations for agencies. I think New York has been one of the more progressive states in terms of reaching out to veterans and making sure that there is access and ability. For women, the availability is there. The outreach, I say, could be better.
I see. And, I want to circle back to the history, right? And I know historically, particularly when, the country was involved in the Vietnam conflict, right? The idea of substance use became a huge thing among particularly people of color, but nationally, right, for those who served in the military. And so, the witnessing the horrors of death and all those kind of things, people came home owing to having to use morphine to address some of their, some of the wounds that they suffered, came home, and then they had heroin addictions, right? Talk to us. What are you seeing now? Do you see an emergence of that similar kind of pattern where people are serving the country and involved in some of the conflicts of war and coming home and using substances more so than it was back then? What are your observations?
Well, as I said, I do advocacy and outreach both, okay? And going into the veteran shelters, the alcohol, substance abuse, and in particular K2, it's a lot of veterans using K2, all right? And I believe more so than not, it's service related in some way. It's service related, okay? I don't believe the symptoms of use have changed. It's just a drug. The drugs have changed. But abuse is rampant out there among servicemen, and it comes as a result of disabilities connected to their service, post-traumatic stress disorders, again, depression, all right? And it's being addressed in some ways through places like Samaritan Village, who aren't excluding veterans from participating in that program based on their non-ability to pay through the VA, all right? And I applaud Samaritan Village for that. But there's a lot of programs out there. If your discharge is other than honorable, you can't get money from the VA. So they can't participate in those programs.
For me, when I think of Vietnam and the context, the historical context, it's very different because those veterans were not embraced as heroes. They were spit on. They were frowned on when they came back.
And those same veterans are some of those 65.
They are now aging out, right? Yep. But at least they, praise God for those that are around, they are able to experience a emergence of support from their country, right? Because many of them suffered for a long time, even hiding the fact that they were veterans. And so using heroin, not sometimes for symptoms of a disease, however, sometimes for pain, which now you see the connection to the opioid crisis and how many veterans would become addicted to opioids based on painkiller, based on a symptom of the disease of addiction, and or, just a trend. Like you said, it's just a different drug to address or mask the same problems: grief, loss, trauma, all of those things kind of attribute to why one would use. So the two are different, but certainly some similarities over the years.
And we're going to be closing the show, unfortunately, soon.
Wow.
It goes really quickly, I know, and we'll be sure to get you all back. But I know that each of you are in your lives a certain way, have accomplished many things, or living a life of contribution, if you will, in different ways. And I know that Howard, you obviously are in school. You're doing a lot of great things at Fortune. You were also featured in the HBO documentary or film. Showtime, I'm sorry. Escape from Dannemora.
Yes,
That was by that was directed by Ben Stiller. And I remember seeing you in there, and I said, that's Howard, I know him. It's my colleague. And so you're doing amazing work, but still remaining very much passionate and committed to veterans getting access to the services that they need.
And I want everyone to be that way. I would just want to say, to daughters at large, this is your opportunity to get involved with seeing that this bill 4678 is passed. Through the media, social media, speaking to your representatives, and also speaking to veterans, you know, and letting them know, you know, that you care, and talking to them, find out what the gaps are in the services that they're not receiving.
Mm-hmm. And Deirdre, I mean, we'll leave the last closing remarks to you, and thank you for joining us in the work that you're doing at Samaritan Daytime Village.
I thank you for having us here, both Hal and myself, especially at a time where, you know, veterans get acknowledged at a certain point of year. So we're coming into that time, and I'm just happy to have served my country. I'm blessed to be able to continue to serve veterans by working through Samaritan Daytime. And to any women veteran out there, if you ever need us, any service, please reach out. We lose too many of our women. To any veteran ever, never consider suicide. It's not something that you need to do. We can help you get to a new life. It's about recovery. It's about change. It's about, you know, strength. It's about endurance. And we never leave a veteran behind.
And on behalf of the Fortune Society, we thank you so much for joining both sides of the bars. You know, I just want to say that, you know, this has been a thought-provoking discussion. Thank you both. I want to thank you to the viewers for tuning in. And if you're interested in finding out more about the Fortune Society, please check us out on the web at fortunesociety.org. That's fortunesociety.org, or on Facebook by typing in the Fortune Society. This is Andre Ward, and I appreciate you joining us as we critically look at both sides of the bars.